And it's the end of an era today as the last survivor of the band of brothers who faced the death penalty with Nelson Mandela in 1964 has died. Andrew Mlangeni, who was one of the first members of the Umkhonto with Sizwe and was military trained in China in 1961, died in Johannesburg, aged 95. Mlangeni served 27 years in prison on sabotage charges that he was never questioned about before his release in 1989. In South Africa's democracy, he served many years as an ANC MP. CNBC Africa was there with President Cyril Ramaphosa on the night in 2018 when Mlangeni celebrated his 93rd birthday in a Johannesburg restaurant. Let's take a look. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mama. Happy birthday to you.
A restaurant full of noise for the man they call the Quiet Revolutionary. This is Andrew Mlangeni, who spent most of his 93 years on earth fighting for the freedom of his fellow man. A difficult path that saw him tortured and incarcerated. A man of humility who lives in the same house in Soweto where he was arrested more than half a century ago. A sitting MP who commands respect.
That should remind us that blood was spilt physically to ensure that we're here. Resilience is a character trait that we should all have.
He's one of the great fighters against the apartheid system in South Africa.
The venue for this birthday celebration showed how far the life of Mlangeni has come. This restaurant near Rivonia in Johannesburg is just around the corner from the farm where Mlangeni flitted through the shadows as an undercover fighter fresh from military training in China. Just down the road is Liliesleaf Farm, where Mandela pretended to be a domestic worker as he was undercover. It was this location that gave its name to the Rivonia trial, where Mlangeni escaped the noose only to spend 26 years in prison on Robben Island. He's one of only two survivors of that trial. Dennis Goldberg, who lives in Cape Town, is the other. The head of state, Cyril Ramaphosa, was there to pay tribute with his trademark dry wit.
When I heard that Comrade Mlangeni was going to have this birthday celebration, I tried to feign, being busy, and I said to Gqinwa, "Oh, Gqinwa, I'm going to be so busy. It's after cabinet meeting, and there's something." She said, "No, Baba, I checked. Your evening is clear." I said, "You don't know. I will be busy." And then quietly and secretly, she gave my phone number to Comrade Andrew Mlangeni. And he called. I didn't even know that he could use a cell phone. He called a few times, and finally I returned his call. And when I did, I said, "No, I'm coming to your birthday." He said, "Oh," he was taken aback.
Also, there was Cabinet Minister Naledi Pandor and former President Kgalema Motlanthe.
Milestones focus people's minds for celebrating a life. So he's 93 years now. When he turns 100, I'm dead certain that the whole country will celebrate that.
It's a story that must be repeated all the time because individuals such as him are becoming more and more rare, and what we need to do is communicate the sacrifice, the life that was lived in service to humanity.
It may have been the great and the good here, but most of those surrounding Mlangeni were his close family. All awaited keenly the man himself on stage.
"You say you're 93? I said, "No, they say I'm 93. What is the recipe for this?" Don't feel offended, because I'm going to say what I want to say, what I like to say. I say, when I got married to my wife, we agreed on one thing, by the way. at that early age that we will not have sex every night. We agreed on that 3 times a week, he said was sufficient. And we strictly kept to that, by the way, that practice. Only occasionally would go beyond 3. Occasionally.
His late wife, June Joanna, would have smiled at the joke. Despite being forced apart by more than a quarter of a century of imprisonment, the two were very close, as he told a documentary on CNBC Africa nearly a decade ago.
She was herself a member of the ANC, a very strong woman. I'm proud of her. There she is. She is still young there. She kept the house, the fires burning in this house for almost 27 years.
The final word from the man himself. Any regrets?
I'll do it any time, again for the second time, third and the fourth time.
Once ANC, always ANC.
Once ANC, always ANC.
Andrew Mlangeni, humble fighter for freedom. Political capital pays tribute to his life and work. Chris Bishop, CNBC Africa, Johannesburg.
We're now joined by his daughter, Sylvia Mlangeni. Sylvia, thanks so much for your time. Of course, South Africa is mourning a hero, a man that many of us have got to thank and very greatly for our liberation and the freedoms that we do enjoy today. But of course, he was more than that to you. He was your father. How are you remembering your dad?
I didn't quite hear what you said.
We just wanted to know about your memory of your father, because to us, he's this liberation hero that we owe many of our freedoms to. But for you, he was a father. What was Ntate Mlangeni like to you as a dad?
He was a very loving father. He loved his grandchildren and his children, of course. And he wanted, he's the kind of a person who wanted his children and grandchildren to go to school. Education to him was very important. He took over when our mother passed away. He became the pillar of the family. He looked after us, and he treated us sometimes like small kids. Although knowing that we were adults. That's how he was, and maybe it was because he had missed the years that he was not with us, with his children, that he spent, the years that he spent on Robben Island for 27 years. He was indeed a loving person, a loving father, and very humble.
And Sylvia, it's a long time to have grown up without your father. How did you regain the relationship with him, after 27 years when he returned from prison?
At first, it was not easy because we were not used to him. He left while we were very young. I remember I had an operation whilst he was in prison, a panty liner, if you know what I mean. That's what they call the operation. And after he came back from prison, he said to me, I know that we have had an operation. I said, yes. He said, can I see? I said, no, Papa. It's down there. He said, no, you are my daughter. I want to see. And then that's the kind of a father he was. He treated us sometimes like small kids to him.
Sylvia, thanks so much for sharing, and condolences from CNBC Africa to you and to your family.